Okay, welcome everybody. This is Susan Macbeth from Adventures by the Book. I am so excited to welcome you to our second of the year Pitch Fest, which is a popular event we host twice a year to introduce you to 15 amazing authors who want to tell you about their books. They're going to give you a 4-minute pitch to try to convince you to pick up their books. And I encourage you to do that with as many of them as possible, because we do vet our member authors and they are all phenomenal. They're phenomenal writers, speakers, and they are available on our website, adventuresbythebook.com, to schedule book club visits, library visits, reading groups, or you can just pick up their book and read it on your own and recommend it to your friends. For those of you who are new, welcome. And we host virtual events, in-person events, travel events, and writers events. So our next virtual event after this is we host a regular book club series, our own Adventures by the Book Club series, which is hosted by our 7 ambassadors around the US and Canada. Next month on September 10th, we're hosting Jeannie McWilliams-Blasberg. Our next in-person event, we're excited. We are going to do about 4 mystery author panels with including some of the authors in our audience. Let's see who's here. John and Anne, and that's going to be in Southern California. So if you are in Palos Verdes, Corona, California, Coronado, California, Corona, Carlsbad, or San Diego, you can come to an event with 5 amazing mystery authors. Check out our website to get the full list. Our next event, our travel event, is our Aspendale Writers Retreat. It's a private retreat we do in the Eastern Sierras during October when the aspen leaves are in their full glory and changing. And we bring author Amy Wallen, and she teaches you about writing. If you're writers, you can come to that. And then our next writing event we host every Monday. We have a writers network that we host virtually, and we bring in fabulous authors who teach you about the art and the craft of writing. And Monday we have actor and author Robert Kerbeck coming to talk about finding a publisher, which is something that everybody wants to know. And thank you to our staff, Brooklyn and Sarah, who are in the audience and are doing all the chat behind the scenes work, posting links in your chat box where you can find some of our events. She'll also be posting links to all our authors in the chat box as they are speaking, so you can click on those links and mark them for future reference. And I think that's it. I think we're getting ready to get started. We are doing a giveaway today. We have 10 books we're giving away, but you have to stay to the end. Don't pop out early because you have to be present to win. We don't want the W's in our group who are going at the end to lose out by early drop-off. So make sure to stay to the end for fabulous authors, fabulous giveaways. And I'm excited now to start with our first author. Donna Jones Allward has enchanted readers with stories of happy endings and homecomings that have won several awards and been translated into over a dozen languages. Her next book, Ship of Dreams, is set to release in March of 2026, so you have plenty of time to plan your book club visits with her. It's a breathtaking tale of secrets, betrayal, and the enduring power of friendship set aboard the Titanic, where opulence knows no bounds and the horizon seems limitless. Can't wait to hear more. Welcome, Donna.
Hi, thank you. I saw someone with their stopwatch on, so I'm going to do that so I don't get in trouble. Thanks for having me back. It's really great to be here. I always joke that because my last name starts with A, I usually end up going first. But this is Ship of Dreams. It, as you said, Susan, it's aboard Titanic. It's the story of 2 best friends. One is trying to save her marriage, and her husband is traveling with her. And the best friend is a third wheel, and she's trying to avoid the noose of matrimony. And she's a bit of a firecracker. She's a suffragette. She says what's on her mind. And I have to say, I love Lou for that. Her name's Louisa. So Hannah and Louisa are on the ship. Both of them are carrying a pretty big secret that they haven't shared with each other. And so we see how there's some cracks in the relationship. And it really is a story of friendship, secrets and betrayal. There's a little bit of intrigue involving the two of them on the ship. And of course, secrets have a way of coming out. And when that happens, it's April 14th. And of course, we know what happens on April 14th. And so everything sort of comes to a climax on that night. And then, of course, nothing is the same after. And so there's themes of women helping other women and forgiveness. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of great dialogue in it. And my daughter just read it because my art just came. I just got it. And my daughter read it this week, and I looked over and she's like, "Damn you, mom!" And then she's like getting tissues, and then she really loved Lou, and she's like, "Mom, there's so much of you in this book," which I really loved because it came together really quickly. So the little bit of intrigue, just to give you a little bit more of a taste of it, is there's a jewel thief on board, and this is of course fictional, and my two main characters are fictional, although they definitely cross paths with and engage with real passengers on board, and it is first class, so there's some really interesting personalities there, and some jewels have gone missing. And I was inspired to do this by the mystery of the Amy bracelet. And I don't know if you know about this bracelet, but when there was a bag that was brought up from the ocean floor, and in this bag, in this Gladstone bag, there was money, there were some jewels, and there was this bracelet, and it spelled out Amy in diamonds, and they've never really determined the provenance of this bracelet and who it belonged to. And I thought, that's great. That's just ambiguous enough for me to take it and make something out of it. So there's something that around this Amy bracelet that brings the two women sort of together and creates some issues. So that was really, really fun to do, and I love being able to bring in a lot of real things that happened that I can weave into the story. I have to say, with Titanic, it was really difficult because there's so much information. I am almost out of time, but I want to tell you that March 31st is the print date in the US. However, August 26th, so less than 2 weeks, is the ebook date everywhere. It's also the print date everywhere except the US. So in the UK and Canada, and then the audiobook releases everywhere on September 2nd. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna, for sharing that. So as she mentioned, August 26th next week or 2 weeks, everywhere else, and in the US in March 21st. So you have plenty of time to get your copy, whether it's an ebook or a print copy. And Rochelle wrote that the cover is stunning. She's looking forward to reading it. The characters are engaging already, and she was completely riveted with When the World Fell Silent. Also, Simon, one of our Adventures by the Book ambassadors and a fellow Canadian, says he's about halfway done with the arc. And if you've read her debut novel, When the World Fell Silent, then you know that Donna pays attention to detail, and Ship of Dreams is no different. Thank you.
Simon's also my hockey buddy. I just have to throw that out there.
I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you, Donna. Next up, we have John Bassoff. John is the author of 10 novels. His mountain Gothic novel, Corrosion, has been translated in French and German and was nominated for France's biggest crime fiction award. Congratulations on that. His newest novel, The Memory Ward, which I've already read and loved, is a haunting Russian doll of a novel about one man's attempt to discover what's real and what isn't. I can't wait for you guys to hear more about it. Welcome, John.
Thanks so much. I am John. Here is the novel, The Memory Ward. I haven't spoken to a crowd this big since my last probation hearing, so it's good to have all you here. Marcel Proust once wrote that remembrance of things past is not necessarily remembrance of things as they were, and I think he was on to something there. In fact, if you look at modern neuroscience, it's shown that every single time you recall a memory, it actually changes from the last time you remembered it. They've even done experiments with mice and that prove that memories can be physically altered or even erased. And if they can do that with mice, well, the question is how long until humans? So my novel, The Memory Ward, deals with the fallibility of memory, and ultimately what it means to be a human. So just to give you a quick little synopsis, it takes place in this idyllic little Nevada town called Bethlehem. And you can kind of picture the white picket fences, the children laughing, the neighbors watering their lush lawns. But of course, beneath this lovely veneer of sort of our mythological America, we've got something a lot darker going on. Our protagonist, Hank Davies, he's a postal worker, he's married, doesn't have any kids, and one night he can't sleep. And he goes downstairs for a drink of water. And as he's sitting at the kitchen table, he hears a pounding on his window, and he goes over there and opens it, and it's a woman. He's never seen her before, and she's frantic looking, and she leans in and tells him, "Listen, I know you don't know who I am, but I know who you are. And I need to give you a warning. And my warning is this: don't trust anybody in this town, including your wife." And then she says something else. She says, "You need to know this as well. The truth about this town is behind the wallpaper." And she vanishes. And days later, our protagonist is lying in bed, and he notices that the wallpaper in his bedroom is beginning to peel a little bit. And so curious, he pulls over a chair and slowly begins peeling, peeling, peeling. And what's beneath? Well, you got to read the book to find out. Memory Ward, as mentioned, is my 10th novel. It was recently optioned by the VP of Drama Development at Fox. They're hopeful to make it into a TV show. Will that happen? I doubt it, but you never know. I realize I'm not the most objective guy in the world, but I think The Memory Ward would make for a great read for your book club if you want to do that. It's suspenseful, it's twisty, but it also lends itself to some of those questions that I've obsessed with over the years, questions about memory, what happens when we can't trust our own memories, questions about identity, what makes us who we are, and then questions about madness and mental illness. If you're looking for some titles to compare it to, maybe books by Blake Crouch, Ian Reed. It's got some Stepford Wives vibes for sure. It's been compared to TV shows like The Twilight Zone, Black Mirror, Severance. They classify it as a psychological thriller, but emphasis definitely would be on the psychological part, I'd say. The book's unsettling, but there isn't really much in the way of gruesome violence, so all the scaredy cats out there will be okay. I actually have a friend who's come to all my events, local events, and she's bought all my books, and she tries to read each one, and then after like 5 pages, she says, "No, too scary." But she read this one, and she said, "See, I knew I could do it." So um, a lot of my books are really dark. This one's dark, but it's doable. If you do choose this book, I've got a book club guide to pass on to you, as well as a lot of swag, stickers, bookmarks, some artwork, all the good stuff. Happy to sign books. I can show up virtually at any club. So that's my book. Hope you read it and pass on the word, and hope to see you down the road.
Thank you, John. And Don says, "Oh boy, John, that sounds amazing. Thank you." And as I mentioned earlier, John will be in Southern California at the end of October around Halloween week. We're going to be doing a whole series of mystery panels, and he will be there. You can meet him in person in Southern California. So make sure to check out our website and get more information on that. And now, for those of you who are following your cheat sheets and making notes, we're going a little bit out of order. For Sarah McCoy, she's going to be our next speaker because she has a commitment later on, and we wanted to make sure you didn't miss her because she is amazing. Sarah McCoy is the New York Times, USA Today, and international best-selling author of novels like Mystique Island, Marilla of Green Gables, The Mapmaker's Children, and The Baker's Daughter. Her newest novel, Whatever Happened to Lori Lovely, is a spellbinding novel based on a true story about a beautiful young movie star of Hollywood's golden age who gives up her bright career to become a nun. It is releasing on September 2nd, so you have a couple weeks to get your orders in and join us, Sarah McCoy. We're so glad to have you, my dear McSunshine sister.
Oh, I love you so much, Susan. I love all your readers, and all the events I've ever come and done with you have been the highlight of my year. And that includes Zooms to teas at the Westgate. I mean, we've done a lot of adventures together, and they're all so special to me. So being here is such a privilege, and I love doing anything with you, for you, and with your readers. So I'm here for Whatever Happened to Lori Lovely. That is my new book. As Susan said, it's coming out September 2nd, and it is inspired and loosely based on real, true life events. And I am going to try to share my screen. I put together a PowerPoint that I'm going to do only on book tour at my stops. So I'm going to try to share just a couple of slides with you guys, so you can see what you would see if you come out to see me, which I hope you do, but you're getting a little sneak peek here. So I am not, I don't know who here might be really good at tech stuff, but I am not one of those, but I'm trying. Hopefully you can see. Can we see? Okay. So it is loosely based on 3 different actresses and their real life. One is Ava, Ava Gardner, and she is from the North Carolina area. Can you all see this slide? Okay, so the second actress is Olivia Hussey, who you all might know from Romeo and Juliet, the 1968 film that came out. I'm obsessed with that personally. I grew up on that and just thought it was amazing. And the third, which is the one that I'm focusing on mostly, is Dolores Hart. And Dolores Hart was an actress in the 1950s who actually did give up her bright, shining career. She was actually Elvis's first kiss on screen, and there were rumors that she had a possible romantic relationship with him. And she gave it all up and she became a nun in her early 20s. Not only a nun, but she became a Benedictine nun, which is a cloistered nun. So she left Hollywood, cut her hair, went into the garb, and has remained there ever since. And the way I came to her is that I was sitting at home, actually, Susan, on an August night watching TCM, Turner Classic Movies. They're Under the Stars. I don't know if anyone else, I have the chat closed so I can't see, but if anyone else watches TCM's Somewhere Under the Stars in August, they feature different actors each night and they do a whole marathon of their movies. And so I was watching and they showed Where the Boys Are from 1960. And Dolores Hart is one of the leading actresses in that. And the host came on and said, Dolores Hart, after she made this movie, soon after, she left Hollywood and she became a nun. And I was shocked because she was so progressive. She plays a character named Merritt, who is so feminist forward for the time period and is so bold and is so big. And for her to play this part and then to become a nun, I was like, what? How did this happen? And why? And I'm so curious about this actress. And so I started Googling, as one does on a hot summer night. Um, yeah, no, really. I'm such a nerd. I really am. So I'm up late Googling. I find out that she was not just any bright actress, that there were rumors she had an affair, or I'm not going to say that out there, but she had a romantic relationship with Elvis, but she was also engaged to a gorgeous architect man from California, broke off the engagement and went to Connecticut and joined this abbey. So I became pretty obsessed with this woman, and I continued to Google, and I decided at one point that, you know, I'm going to write her a fan letter because that's something that's really meaningful to me when I get messages from people saying, just thank you for your work. And I'm not going to ask anything from her. I'm just going to let her know that her art and her film and what she put out, that it still resonates today, even though she's no longer part of our public sphere. That art can do that. It can last beyond us, even if we disappear. And again, that's important to me to hear. So I wrote her this letter and I just sent it to the Abbey, almost like a letter in a bottle. And I just, off it went, and I didn't expect to hear anything. And she wrote me back. And this was in 2016. And we started a pen pal relationship that just blossomed over the years. And it's been about 10 years now. And I actually went and visited her. And this is her. And no one, I can't put this out publicly because they're cloistered. And so I can't put this photo out anywhere on the internet, but I can show it on my book tour and I can show it to you all. So this is Dolores, Mother Dolores, who I love with all my heart and soul. And we connected in a way I have never connected with a person that I had never met before. And she is so incredible and soulful. And I went to the Abbey. I'm not Catholic, by the way. I know nothing about Catholicism. I had to learn all about Catholicism. And I went there as a seeker. And I told her that I'm seeking answers for my own life. I'm seeking spiritual understanding of other people's faiths. I'm seeking stories that are real, that actually resonate in contemporary world still. And so I asked her all the hard questions, and she answered all the questions, and they went into this book. So whatever happened to Lori Lovely, again, it's not Mother Dolores entirely. It's a sliver of her, and it's a sliver of Olivia, and it's a sliver of Ava Gardner, and it's a sliver of me. And we're all in this book, and it creates this character of Lori Lovely. And her story, whatever happened to her, is that journey of how she went from seeking what I feel like is very popular right now, seeking fame, fortune, all the bits of what we think makes life um everything it ought to be, we think, and yet we want more. We still want more. And so those are the questions I asked her when I went. Um, and that's the book. The answer to that is in the book. And for book club, I would love to Skype, or I guess no one Skypes anymore, Zoom, or get in touch with anyone to talk about this book and talk more in depth about the research. I went to every single location. Rome, is very much featured in this book, and I went there to do research for this. I clearly went to the Abbey in Connecticut. Also,
And Sarah,
my
we're out of time, and I hate to interrupt you
oh,
because I love everything you're talking
please
about.
do. No, I'm so glad you did.
Means they have to schedule a book club visit with you to
That's right.
learn more. There's so many comments in the chat box about how amazing this sounds. And if you've ever met her, you will know she is as glorious and sunshiny and bright as her yellow blouse. I encourage you to read her books, meet her in person, meet her any virtual events she does, and schedule her for book club visits. Sarah, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for interrupting me too. Thank you all for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Okay, next up we have Jennifer Grazer Dornbush, who is a screenwriter, an author, an international speaker, and so interesting, a forensic specialist. She was raised as the daughter of a medical examiner whose office was in their home, and forensics is infused into her DNA. She is the author of the mystery novel series, The Coroner's Daughter, how appropriately. In the 5th book of the series, hold it up, What Darkness Does, I have read, and it is so juicy. Dr. Emily Hartford finds herself dredging the depths of Lake Isabella and her own past relationship. It's releasing on October 28th in time for spooky Halloween time. So it's a perfect pick for you to read. We can't wait to hear more. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm a newer member to this community and I've only been here 45 minutes and I love it already. So thank you for having me. And like she said, yes, I do many things, but today I want to introduce you to the Coroner's Daughter series. It's kind of like a Bones meets Rizzoli and Isles meets Sweet Home Alabama. And the heroine of the series is Dr. Emily Hartford. So Emily has lived with death since the day she was born, and it's not hard when your dad is the medical examiner and his office is in the family home. Sounds a little familiar. But now Emily is a tenacious 28-year-old curious big city surgeon who lives in Chicago, and she just won't stop pursuing answers until she uncovers the truth. She's independent, but also a little insular. And she's really hard to peel back. It's hard to peel back her layers. She knows she's broken and she knows there's something missing inside, but it's easier for her to just avoid the pain and press ahead in her career than to deal with the bitterness and hurt that her father caused. So when we meet her in book one, The Coroner, Emily has to return home because her father's had a heart attack and she hasn't seen him in 12 years. And while she's back home in her small hometown, she is called upon to solve a brutal murder quickly so that she can get back to Chicago and live out the rest of her beautiful life with her fiance and her new career. But as we move through this series, Emily learns to reconcile her bitterness and skeletons, to reunite with the people she left behind, and to successfully take over her father's former coroner post so that she can continue to fight against the evils that seek to destroy her very tight-knit community. Emily comes to embrace it all because home is where the bodies are. I'm going to just share my screen so I can show you this and continue. So that also you don't see my big old cheat sheet here. So the fifth book, which is the bigger one here, What Darkness Does, that is the fifth book in the series, and it releases on October 28, What Darkness Does. And I will have a book club guide by October 1st. You can learn a lot more about the book on my website. And if you delve into the series and you find that you like Dr. Emily in the first few books, then rest assured there are more coming. I have a contract for books 6, 7, and 8 right now. I've also sold the rights to be developed for television, and I've been working with the producers for about a year on creating the season's first scripts. So I know how things can go in Hollywood because I've worked there a long time, but I have a lot of hope in this one. So each book in the series can be read as a standalone because each book tackles a new murder, and there's sort of the running theme of like justice and redemption as the overall plot. However, there is a secondary theme of love and belonging that permeates the entire series as it pulls and kind of tears at Emily's personal life. I think that this is what makes Emily a very relatable heroine because just like Emily, we all want to be loved and to find belonging in something that's greater and larger than ourselves. So Dr. Emily you'll see her exploring this theme in each book. You'll see her moving closer toward true love, deepening her purpose and her sense of belonging while tracking down chilling killers and solving very haunting cases. At the end of the day, like the tagline says, Emily realizes that home is where the bodies are. Throughout each book in the series, there are a few key relationship stories in Emily's life. First is an ongoing tormented love story between Emily and her former high school boyfriend, Nick, who is a county sheriff turned FBI agent. There's also Emily's bestie, Joe, who's a nurse and mom of 4, and on whom Emily depends for case breathers, honest advice, and wine nights. And of course, there's her own family dynamics to deal with. There's her estranged father, her mother that she lost when she was 15, and a new family that she discovers in book 2, Secret Remains. So if you want more, my website is my hub for everything. You can find books, my newsletter, socials, blogs, book club guides, my email. I would absolutely love to meet you and share this series with you at your book club in the coming seasons. I bounce between Arizona, California, and Michigan. So in person is not out of the question, but of course, I'm always available virtually as well. Thank you.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. So juicy. And lots of comments. Make sure to follow along in the chat box, and make sure you're following on your PitchFest cheat sheet and making notes about which authors you want to read, which books you want to pick up. She's perfect for spooky series coming up in October. So thank you. Next up, we have Rosa Kwan Easton. Rosa and I have known each other a long time when this book was just a seed in her brain, and she's been talking about it. I was with her when we saw it in the wild for the first time, White Mulberry. It's phenomenal. She's an incredible new writer. She's a graduate of Smith College, Columbia University, Boston College Law School. She's a lawyer and a trustee of the Palos Verdes Public Library District. Her debut novel, as I mentioned, White Mulberry, which is inspired by her life of her Korean grandmother in 1930s Japan, who was torn between two worlds and must reclaim her true identity to provide a future for her family. It is so good, and it's a pleasure to welcome you back, Rosa Kwan Easton.
Thank you so much, Susan. And thank you for Adventures by the Book and all the fellow authors here, for the readers. I think I'm the first debut to speak. I'm just overwhelmed by the number of books that everyone has published so far. So thank you for bearing with me. This is relatively new, but my book did come out in December of last year. So I had the fortune of coming to some of the events that Susan has put together, and she's just been such a great support. My book, if you love pachinko, I think you're going to love my novel, White Mulberry. It's inspired by the story of my own grandmother, a young woman coming of age in 1930s Japan-occupied Korea. It follows the journey of Mi Young, an 11-year-old girl who has dreams that are too big for her poor farming village outside Pyongyang, which is to become a teacher and to avoid an arranged marriage. So when she gets the opportunity to follow her older sister to Japan, she is elated, but she soon discovers that she must pass as Japanese to survive in a society rife with anti-Korean sentiment. It's a deeply researched portrait of a woman torn between two worlds and her quest to reclaim her true identity. And it's really a story of resilience, love, and the power of identity. I first became inspired to write this book when I discovered some old faded documents on my father's desk. And they were my grandmother's nursing and midwife certificates dated 1938 and 1939, written in Japanese, but with her Korean surname on it. I became curious. What was she doing in Japan, and why did she leave? So this journey of this book took about 40 years and I spent my junior year abroad in college in Kyoto, where I met some of my Korean Japanese relatives for the first time. I got a master's in East Asian history, and I was able to interview my grandmother before she passed away numerous times. And that's when I really learned that her struggle to overcome a patriarchal and racist society that was designed to break her, that she overcame that, and it was a story that couldn't be lost. I first wrote it as a family memoir, but soon discovered that there were gaps in her story, and I wanted to enrich it so it could be read by a wider audience. It took 10 years to turn the memoir into fiction, and that's when I met Susan in this process. But I was able to land an agent, and we landed a 2-book deal. It was an Amazon First Reads editor's pick. A #1 bestseller in historical fiction, was named best book by a bunch of media outlets. It's being translated into 4 languages. And I'm also in early stages of talking to a talent agent about perhaps turning this into a TV series. So as a debut, I'm just thrilled to be able to sit here and share some of my journey. As Susan mentioned, I met her when my book was in the wild at the American Library Association annual conference. And since then, I've been on book tour, national book tour. I've presented at book festivals and libraries, but I especially love coming to book clubs because you ask such great questions. I always love hearing how the book resonated with you because you had a family member who also immigrated to a new place. You were just there were members who were displaced and people also going through the search to belong somewhere. So I also love answering questions about why Mi Young had to keep her identity a secret, what it was like to turn a family story into fiction, who was angry in my family that I had done that. I hope to be able to attend one of your book clubs. One last thing is that my next book that I'm under contract for, I have a draft written, and it's coming out in October of 2026. As John said, I have swag, I have bookmarks, I have book club guides. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll invite me to your book club. I really enjoy doing them. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rosa, and lots of comments about people who loved your book. Joni said, Rosa will be visiting my book club this fall, so I hope more people take advantage of that opportunity. And I was going to mention one other thing and I forgot, but okay, so we're going to move on next to Brian Freeman, who is a New York Times bestselling author of psychological thrillers sold around the world and translated into 24 languages. He's widely acclaimed for his complex, engaging characters and twist-filled plots. In 2019, he was selected as the author to continue Robert Ludlum's famous Jason Bourne series. Congratulations on that, by the way, and has now released multiple best-selling Bourne novels. His upcoming novel, Photograph, out on October 7th, is an emotional cold case mystery of hidden identities and startling twists. Welcome, Brian. We can't wait to hear more.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Susan. And first of all, a big thank you to all of you for being with us here tonight. We all really appreciate it. And I know you're going to discover some great books and some great authors. I already have just listening to the folks tonight. Well, as Susan said, I'm Brian Freeman, and my brand new mystery Photograph is coming out on October 7th. And I'd love to have a chance to talk about it with you and your book club. Photograph is my 33rd published novel, 33 novels in the last 20 years. It really has been just such an amazing ride. And if you've had the opportunity to read any of my previous books, like the Jonathan Stride series or The Deep, Deep Snow or Thief River Falls, you know that I like to write mysteries and thrillers with an emotional core. So it always seems like, I'm trying to get those last chapters written and I've just got tears running down my face. But I always feel if I can get that intimately connected to the characters, then hopefully you will as well. Okay, so what is Photograph all about? Well, I did an interview about the book last week, and they asked me to summarize the book in 25 words or less. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a 100,000 word book. This is going to be interesting. But here goes. It's about a photograph of a little girl from 25 years ago. Who is she? And why have two people been killed because of her picture? Okay, that's the tease. The plot of Photograph actually began to take shape for me with a real life book. It was a book called Mid-Century Memories, and it was a photo essay book. And people were sending in photos of ordinary life back in the 1950s. And you know how thriller writers think. I'm looking at this book and I'm thinking, well, what if one of these pictures opened the door to some kind of strange, unsolved mystery? And that was how all of the twists and turns of Photograph began to take shape. Photograph is told by a Florida private detective named Shannon Wells. I think you'll love Shannon. She's very funny. She's fierce. She's determined, and she's definitely Florida. She runs her agency out of a tiki bar right on the water in Daytona Beach. So one day, a woman comes to Shannon with a very strange request: find out who I really am. The trouble is, soon this woman is dead, and Shannon still has no idea what secrets she was hiding, but they all seem to go back to a mysterious old photograph. It's just a picture of a barefoot little girl standing at a Coke machine in the rain in a motel parking lot. How could that be a motive for murder? All right. Well, that's the pitch. I hope you love it. I'd love to talk with you about it. You can find out more about Photograph, about me, about all of my books at my website. It's bfreemanbooks.com, all one word, bfreemanbooks.com. So thank you so much for having me here. Enjoy the rest of the show and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Brian. Sounds fascinating. We can't wait to dig in. And as he mentioned, his website, we posted it in the chat box, as we are doing with all our authors. So you just have to click on the link there. Very convenient. Also, thank you to those of you who pre-ordered books for our authors. Those are in the process of either shipped out, or if they're not published yet, they'll be shipped out when they are published. And you can still order books for any and all of our authors through the event and after the event. So check out our website to do that. And as he mentioned, you can schedule a book club visit with him. Just go to our website, adventuresbythebook.com. You can schedule book club visits with any and all of our authors, and we hope you do that. Thank you, Brian. Next up on your lists is, you have on your list Christina Baker Klein. And Christina is not able to make it, but we lucked out because her co-writer of her current book is Ann Burt, and Ann is here with us today. So Christina Baker Klein, as you know, is a #1 New York Times bestselling author of 9 novels and has been published in 40 countries, including her runaway bestseller, The Orphan Train. She has now turned her hand to mystery writing, and she co-wrote her new book with Ann Burt. Ann and her wrote their novel, Please Don't Lie, which comes out on September 1st. It's a stylish, twisty thriller following a young woman who heads into the Adirondacks with her new husband for a fresh start. But the past won't let her go. Now, Anne's debut, The Dig, was a 2023 ABA Indie Next pick, and we can't wait to hear more about the new book. And also, both Anne and Christina will be at our mystery author events in person in California, Southern California, at the end of October. So you can meet her there, but get a load now because you're going to hear all about the book. Welcome, Anne.
Susan, thank you so much. And thank you all for having me here for the first time too. Christina is so sorry she's not going to be here. It's an unexpected conflict. I do want everyone to know that we are touring together for Please Don't Lie this fall. We're available as a team to connect with your book groups through Adventures by the Book. So she's excited, I'm excited, and I'm really eager to tell you a little bit about Please Don't Lie, our first co-written thriller. So what if starting over meant stumbling into something far more dangerous than what you left behind? That's the question at the heart of our psychological thriller. It's about a woman who flees to a remote Adirondack town to escape her past, only to discover that everyone around her, including her new husband, is hiding some pretty devastating secrets. Haley Stone has lost everything at the start of this novel. Her parents in a fire, her sister to an overdose. She's desperate for a fresh start, so she moves to Crystal River, a beautiful mountain town that seems like the perfect place to heal. But as winter closes in, her husband becomes more and more secretive. The locals are giving her cryptic warnings, and this free-spirited couple she adores living on their property clearly know more than what they're saying. Haley keeps telling herself she's overreacting, but what if she's not? What if in running from her trauma, she's walked straight into a trap? So I know that there are a lot of you who love Christina's best-selling historical fiction. I do too. Orphan Train, The Exiles, they were from a very different place in Christina's imagination. So was my debut novel, The Dig, from my own imagination. Together, We are in this new genre of psychological thriller, and it's so exciting for both of us. Our collaboration has been 25 years in the making. We met each other 25 years ago as new parents in, okay, where else? A bookstore. It was perfect. We've been critique partners, friends, and creative collaborators ever since. Writing this novel together was really exhilarating. We were able to blend our complementary strengths to create something neither one of us was going to write alone. The result is a different voice. It's sharp, it's direct, and we want to explore together the devastating truths that we hide from others and even ourselves when everything is at stake. I think this is a great one for book clubs too, and this is some of the reason why. I think there's a lot to discuss. For example, can we ever truly know the people that we love? What lengths will we go to protect our secrets? How do the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we tell about ourselves shape our choices? Haley is navigating her roles as a sister, a friend, and a wife, and she's grappling with regrets, both for the actions she's taken and those she's avoided. The novel also takes a very serious look at the role of the self-help industry in women's lives, which adds a whole other layer to the complexity. Christina and I also love to talk about collaboration and how this book came to be. So we'd love to share more with your book group about how everything came together. We hope you love this book. We hope it keeps you page turning into the night, but even more than that, we hope it leaves you questioning the role of deception in our own lives, large and small, after you finish the book. So it publishes, as Susan said, on September 1st, and it's going to be available in whatever form you prefer: hardcover, paperback, audio, ebook. It's all there. I'm going to show you quickly a really cool thing about the hardcover. I'm sorry, it's backwards. I did zoom wrong. But look beyond this. Oh, it's forwards? Oh, I did zoom right. I'm really proud. Okay, look beyond. Here's the dust jacket. Look at the book. Ooh. Ooh. It's really pretty. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
It is gorgeous. Thank you, Anne. I can't wait to meet you in Southern California in October. And for those of you who can't attend in October, you can schedule book club visits with Anne and Christina, 2 for 1. I mean, who doesn't love that? Thank you. Next up, we have Sharon Kortzman, who worked in television marketing before pursuing her dream of becoming a writer. She earned her MFA in fiction from Vermont College of Fine Arts and is a former food writer. Her debut historical novel, The Lost Baker of Vienna, which publishes next week on August 19th, was inspired by the war and post-war experiences of her family, who were Holocaust survivors. Oh my gosh, Sharon, tell us more.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Adventures by the Book. I'm so thrilled to be here. It's my first time here. I joined a little while ago, and I am so excited to tell you about my debut historical novel, The Lost Baker of Vienna. As Susan said, it comes out next week on August 19th, and I cannot wait. I'm so thrilled. It's been a 25-year journey of writing to get to this point. So let me tell you a little bit about what the book's about. It's about a young woman named Hanna in 1946, Austria. Hanna is a Holocaust survivor from Poland who, along with her mother and brother, is finally free but struggling to survive in war-torn Europe. She ends up caught in a dangerous love triangle when all she'd wanted was to emigrate to America and follow her passion to become a baker. The book also follows a young journalist named Zoe in present-day America who is obsessed with finding out the truth about what happened to her family in World War II. As Susan said, this story is inspired by my mother, aunt, and grandmother, who were Holocaust survivors. And like that journalist, I've spent decades researching my family's path during and after World War II. The novel also has characters who are black market dealers and Soviet mobsters in post-war Vienna. And while I researched the book, this often made the place seem like the Wild, Wild West. Combining with that epic love story gives the story its propulsion and elements of suspense and mystery. In fact, readers don't know exactly who everyone is until the end of the book. As I said, this book was inspired by my family, so this is the story behind the story. When I was in college, my mother opened up to me for the first time, sharing details about her life during years when staying alive each day was an act of resistance. I learned how she had survived 2 Jewish ghettos in Poland and the Stutthof concentration camp. After liberation, my family ended up in Vienna. And while there, my grandmother encouraged my mother and my aunt to date, telling them, "We're 3 women alone in this city and we need protection." I was 20 years old and I could not fathom how, after everything they had survived during the war, then as refugees, they were still in danger. This novel draws on my family's post-war lives in Vienna, including a harrowing escape from a displaced persons camp and 2 years trapped in Europe, facing continued hunger and new dangers as immigration quotas kept them from reaching family in the US. These stories from my family lend my novel its authenticity, as well as elements of suspense, peril, and danger. The novel also explores family relationships and how far one will go to protect those that they love. It's a story with strong female characters who follow their dreams no matter what. Advanced readers on Goodreads note how they can't put the book down, and reading The Lost Baker of Vienna has broken their heart and then put it back together again. They've shed tears and pointed out the satisfying twist at the end, which is music to my ears. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how important food is to this book. You can see in my bio that I'm a former food writer, having covered the local food scene here in North Carolina, where I live. Researching the pastries and baking techniques for the novel brought me tremendous joy and helped me infuse joy into the novel as well. I learned how to make croissants in Paris and Mozartkugel in Vienna, but all in the name of research. While we're on the topic of food, book clubs can find on my website, along with the book's discussion questions, an enhanced guide with recipes and even a suggested menu for book club meetings. There's, as others have mentioned, there's swag too. I have bookmarks and I had dish towels made with a family recipe. I'm in a book club and I can't wait to meet book clubs and talk about my family, food, and any questions your members have for The Lost Baker of Vienna. If you invite me to your book club, I also have family mementos and photos that can help bring the story to life. This is a deeply personal story about survival, loss, and love, and I can't wait to share it with all of you. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so thrilled to be here with all these other authors and with all of you readers. I'm just so excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Sounds like an amazing story that everybody should read. And I know that Joni already wrote, she's booked you in April already, so she's excited for her book club. So many people have made comments in the chat box. I hope you check those out as well. Next up is Christina Lynch. Her journey includes chapters in Chicago and at Harvard, where she was an editor at the Harvard Lampoon. She was the Milan correspondent for W Magazine and Women's Wear Daily, and disappeared terribly for 4 years in Tuscany. I'm so sad for you. In LA, she was on the writing staff of Unhappily Ever After, Encore, The Dead Zone, and Wildfire. Her newest novel, The Pony Confidential, is a mystery told from the point of view of a pony. I love this so much, who's trying to reunite with the one little girl he really loved 25 years after he last saw her. Oh, Christina, you have to tell us everybody about this. It's so wonderful.
Well, it is a little different. This is my 5th novel, and I usually write historical fiction. And yes, I write things that are funny, but not as explicitly funny as this. So during the pandemic, I lived by myself at the top of a hill at the end of the road with a whole bunch of animals, including a pony. And so this novel, Pony Confidential, is inspired by my pandemic partner. And what got me thinking was how ponies are usually passed around, right? So pony is not a baby horse. It is a small equine. So that, they stay a pony their whole lives, ponies. It's a size thing. And what happens is, if you're a kid and you're lucky enough to get a pony, you outgrow that pony. And the pony gets sold or given to another kid and another kid and another kid. So when we meet the pony of Pony Confidential, he's had a lot of kids in his past, and he's a little bitter about that because, you know, at the beginning you give it your all, but after a while, one more kid bouncing on your back, you know, fingers get bitten, toes get stepped on. So when we meet the pony, he is thinking about the one little girl that he really loved. And he hasn't seen her in about 25 years. And what he wants at the very beginning of the book is revenge. So, believe it or not, this book is based on the Odyssey, yes, the Greek epic by Homer, that I happened to be teaching at the time I was writing the book. So, it is structured like a Greek epic. So, I did not picture this book really kind of taking off. It is told, yes, chapters from the first person point of view of a pony, an embittered ancient pony. And the alternate chapters are told from the point of view of Penny, that little girl who is now grown up and she's a mother herself, and where she is in her life, which is she's just been arrested for murder. So, yeah, you could see that these two stories are going to collide. And I have a tiny slideshow to show you. There we go. So there's the cover of Pony Confidential. And then go play from current slide. And then we have the reception that this book got when it came out in hardcover last fall. I was sort of blown away. Thrilled, really happy. It was chosen by Amazon as its #1 pick for November. I'm sure Haruki Murakami was a little surprised when he got pushed to #2 for Pony Confidential. It was picked up, you know, People Magazine and Good Housekeeping and Woman's World and all sorts of really fun, wonderful things. I got interviewed by Scott Simon for Weekend Edition. And that is the pony. That's Bill, my pony, he's in his little shed right now because it's about 105 degrees here. But he will start screaming any minute for his dinner. And there's a little people blurb. The book is out in paperback on October 14th. So I'm very excited about that. I love doing book clubs. They're really fun. I try to be very entertaining. And the thing about this book is if your book club is looking for something different, they're like, oh, we need a change of pace. We need to change things up. Pony Confidential makes people laugh out loud. So it's kind of a nice antidote if you've been on a run of heavier reads, which I love. Nothing against the heavier reads. I write them too. But this is, it's light, it's funny, but it's not frivolous because Penny is in fact, she can't make bail. So she is imprisoned for that murder that she did not commit. So you get a little look at the, let's say, the shortcomings of our criminal justice system as she awaits her trial. So I want to thank Susan and Adventures by the Book for having me. I've loved all of the events that I have done with you, and I would be so delighted. I'm in Central California, so if you're in the Fresno, Visalia area, I can meet with you in person. I could even bring my pony. But otherwise, I'm really happy to join your book club on Zoom, and I promise we'll have a few good laughs.
Sounds amazing. I'd love a good pony book club. And so many comments in the chat box. What a fun book to read. The pony's feisty. The book was just recommended to me today. An embittered pony as a narrator. Love it. The book was so good. So thank you. Really fun. Nice to see you again, Christina. Next up, we have Lisa Montanero, who is part no-nonsense Italian-American New Yorker and part sunny Californian. Lisa's debut novel won first place at the LGBTQ Fiction in the International Firebird Book Awards, received an honorable mention in general fiction from the Los Angeles Book Festival, and a finalist in the LGBTQ Fiction in the National Indie Excellence Awards. Her debut novel, Everything We Thought Was True, is the story of a family trying to reconcile their past, understand the secret at the heart of the family's rupture, and embrace the future. Brimming with love and loss, heartbreak and hope, this multi-generational family drama weaves a tapestry of identity, healing, and forgiveness. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. First, I would like to thank Adventures by the Book, the entire team, for putting together this Pitch Fest. It is a real honor to be here with so many authors I admire, and some of them are dear writer friends that I've been on this author journey with for a while now, so that means a lot also. And of course, it's amazing to be here with you book lovers and avid readers, so thank you for all of you for being here. I write book club fiction featuring complex characters who are trying to break barriers, and they are fighting to truly be themselves despite obstacles in their way, including the time they live in and societal stigmas. I'm thrilled to share with you my debut novel, Everything We Thought Was True, which is a dual timeline family drama that explores a secret that forever shapes an Italian-American family. And it's told through the perspective of three distinct characters. Teresa, a wife who is afraid of the truth. Frank, a husband who is afraid of being himself. And then their daughter, Lena, who carries the weight of the secret into adulthood. The novel unfolds over multiple decades, and it explores what we pass to future generations, especially when there's emotional trauma involved. It's set against the backdrop of the LGBTQ rights and history movement, and the past story takes place in New York from the late 1960s to the 1990s, and the contemporary story takes place in Los Angeles over about 4 months in 2015. It's a heartbreaking but hopeful exploration of family and identity and the corrosive nature of secrets, those we keep from ourselves, from each other, and from society. Some readers have said to bring tissues, but they also say that the tears that they shed are happy and uplifting ones. Everything We Thought Was True is a deeply personal but fictional novel that was inspired by my family's unique story and my identity as the daughter of a formerly closeted gay father. It was a time capsule when I wrote it. It was supposed to be this snapshot of a time in history when the fictional Antinori family would be grappling with the right and the nerve to live according to their own desires and not according to the limiting expectations of society, and sometimes even the limiting expectations of themselves. Little did I know when I set out to write this novel that it would also be timely, not just a historic time capsule, given the backlash that we're now experiencing regarding LGBTQ rights, unfortunately, in some corners. At its heart, my novel is family drama. And so one thing I love doing is visiting with book clubs to talk about family secrets. And I consider it quite a privilege that so many readers are coming to me, both in person at bookstore events and library events, or when I visit with book clubs, or even messaging me on social media and sharing their secrets with me. So I've sort of become the keeper of secrets without realizing that I would become the keeper of secrets. And I do consider it quite an honor. It's a privilege for someone to come to you and tell you some of their family secrets. And a few readers have said they felt seen by my novel, even though their family secret was different than the one that the Antinoris are experiencing. I am delighted to visit with book clubs in person or virtually. I love them, and we can discuss all aspects of the novel. I live in Northern California, but I'm willing to travel to Southern California, where my father and his husband live. And I also go to New York once a year, where I'm originally from. I can send swag in advance. And there's a fabulous book club kit on my website, which I invite you to check out. And it has recipes and music playlists, resources, an LGBTQ history timeline. And it also has the author's note that's in my novel. You can visit lisamontaneroauthor.com. I love to connect with people on social media. Every one of your books is already on my TBR list, and I'm so looking forward to meeting many of you readers. Thank you for reading. Otherwise, without you, we wouldn't have anyone to share these stories with.
Thank you, Lisa. And Dorothy Miner echoed what we're all thinking. My TBR list is out of sight. Jacqueline says it sounds amazing. Lisa's so excited to read this one. So just a reminder that we are doing giveaways at the end of the program. So don't leave because you have to be present to win. We're giving away 10 books that our authors have graciously donated to you. And yeah, make sure you follow all of them. Brooklyn and Sarah are posting their websites in the chat box, so thank you. Next up, we have Rebecca Rosenberg, who is a champagne connoisseur. She's based in Sonoma, California, where she lives on a beautiful lavender farm with her family, and where she founded the country's largest lavender company. Her newest novel, Silver Echoes, is a dual timeline historical novel that asks the question, what really happened to Silver Dollar Tabor? And you're going to have to read it to find out, but what can you tell us, Rebecca?
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be here too. I'm just getting excited hearing about all these books. It's amazing. And this is the second book about the Tabor family. My first one was Gold Digger. And this family is so amazing. They were the largest silver mining family in all of America, and they were the richest as well, but they have a lot of baggage, let's say. And one of them, when they lost all their money, poor Silver Dollar Tabor, and that is her real name, had a lot of trauma as a child. And you'll see when you read the novel how that comes out later. And this is all a true story. So imagine a silent film star, Silver Dollar Tabor, a woman so desperate for fame, she's willing to risk everything. It's 1915 and her family's silver fortune is gone. The only chance to save her mother from ruin is to perform the deadliest publicity stunt in her career, the slide for life. She's climbing a 100-foot tower, preparing to slide across a high wire with nothing but an iron pulley clenched in her teeth. It's a trick no one has ever survived, but she's really willing to risk it all to reclaim the fame and fortune that her family lost in the silver crash. But as she leaps, the pulley slams against her jaw and the horrifying truth hits her. She can't swim. What is she doing? Plunging into the murky water, she hears a voice, a secret childhood friend that she calls Echo, giving her strength to fight for her life. Now she's saved by a handsome script boy, Carl. But then, when Silver is violently attacked by her mother's trusted lawyer, the shadowy presence of Echo returns to avenge her, and she is forced to flee Colorado forever. On the run, she must shed her identity and become Echo LaVode, a vaudeville and burlesque performer who constantly wrestles with this new, dangerous alter ego. She finds her way to Carl, who's now working at a major movie studio in Chicago. He gets her a job handling wild animals on set, and her career as an actress begins to rise again. But when World War I breaks out, Carl goes to war and their relationship is lost. Abandoned, Silver creates a high-profile speakeasy act with the Tigers from the studio, and she falls in with Prohibition gangsters and struggles all the more with her alter ego, Echo LaVode, who tends to take over. She becomes Silver Dollar Tiger Tamer, a headlining act, and a woman who has completely traded her former life for a new dangerous one. Meanwhile, years later, in 1932, the now successful Hollywood writer named Carl is visiting Silver Dollar's mother, Baby Doe. He's here to pay respects after Silver's horrific death years ago. But Baby Doe doesn't believe she's dead. The official story is that Silver was scalded to death in Chicago, but the attacker was never found. Baby Doe and Carl, both convinced something else happened, are forced to become detectives. Their desperate search for truth will take them through the glitz and danger of prohibition movie making and the gritty criminal underworld of 1930s Chicago. So as the timelines intersperse, they retrace Silver's life, and from her initial act of desperation to her final deadly confrontation. Silver Echoes is a suspenseful dual timeline novel based on a true story asking, what price is too high for fame? And what happens with the very thing that saves you becomes the danger you're running from? So I hope you'll give it a try. And I love book clubs, as we all do. And so Silver Echoes is a scary and exciting mystery as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Rebecca. And you can't go wrong with Rebecca's books. And I think somebody just commented about that too and said, all of her titles are engaging. Rebecca knows how to tell a great story. Silver Echoes was such an interesting book to read, wild and crazy events. So thank you for joining us. Next up, we have James Wade, who is the youngest novelist to win 2 Spur Awards from the Western Writers of America and the recipient of the MPIBA's prestigious Reading the West Award. His debut novel, All Things Left Wild, was listed as one of the most influential books, Westerns, of the 21st century by True West magazine and included in the Los Angeles Times 1001 Novels, a Library of America. Very prestigious. His newest novel, Narrow the Road, which I just started last night, actually, and it's out August 26th, coming up soon, is a Southern Gothic coming-of-age odyssey set in East Texas during the Great Depression. We can't wait to hear more. Welcome, James.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man. This has been great getting to hear about everybody's novels. Unfortunately, my TBR list is getting a little out of hand too. So listen, Narrow the Road, if you look in the jacket copy, it'll tell you about the Great Depression and about East Texas and a boy trying to put his family back together and face harsh times. But more than anything, this novel is about a journey, and I think that that's something that as a reader I'm always drawn to, novels that take the characters and take the readers on a journey, because I think it's somehow inherent in our DNA, just our chemical makeup, that we as humans want to quest. We want a journey, whether it's physical or spiritual or emotional. In this case, it's kind of all three. And so we got a young man he's on the cusp of manhood, but he's not quite there yet. So we've got the coming of age, we've got the loss of innocence, we've got those big revelatory moments. But I think that what I love about this novel is that we don't necessarily get answers to a lot of questions. It's more about the questions than the answers. And that's probably because I don't have any of the answers, and if I did, I could have given them to the characters. But I did an interview the other day, and somebody said, it seems like in all your novels you write primarily like broken male characters. Can you tell us why? And I said, yeah, absolutely. That's an easy question. I am a broken male character, right? And so everything that goes into my novels, just like pretty much all of us here, it comes from our own experience in some form or fashion. Even if it's not our stories, it's our perspective. Our perspectives are shaped by our own experiences. So, you can take that at the macro or even down to the micro, where the way that we describe a cloud says something about who we are as people, right? And so I love sharing myself in these novels. And so, no, I didn't grow up in the Great Depression, East Texas, but I did grow up in a trailer in East Texas. And I had an abusive alcoholic parent, and I had some tough times, and I had to grow up probably too quickly and navigate some of these things that our main character is having to navigate. Ask myself some of these questions that he's having to ask. And so yeah, as he journeys in Narrow the Road, I try to be cognizant of where I am in my own journey and how it's made me feel, and the questions it brings up in me and the answers that I'm seeking as well. My wife and I lived in an RV for 2 years. We traveled the country living off grid, Bureau of Land Management, National Forest, all just out in the woods trying to reconnect with nature. So I try to bring that into the writing. Again, it's just the things I like to read. I like to read naturalism. I like to read about the flora and the fauna. I think that's another part of something that's inherent in our DNA is like we share 50% of it with trees and plants, man. So we're always trying to push to understand the natural world or at least come to some kind of bargain with it to live alongside it. But I bring all that into this novel. And probably like the biggest, twist is why there's a gorilla on the cover of a novel that's set in Great Depression, East Texas. And so that I will not give away. You'll have to read the book. And that's one of the reasons I know everybody is going to kiss y'all's ass tonight about we love book clubs, but it's true. And the reason is because look, I love doing independent bookstores. I'm all for it. Let's keep our dollars local and in the community. But no one's read the book yet, right? But you go to a book club, you guys have read the book. We can talk about it. We can do deep dives into exactly like what the thought process was, into what the themes and metaphors are. Like I'm a big disciple of the grand metaphor in literature, right? Where there's this great romantic painting by Peter Bruegel, a Dutch painter, and it's called The Landscape of the Fall of Icarus. And it's got these beautiful Grecian cliffs, and there's a guy plowing steps into the side of the mountains, and there's ships in the bay, and there's a village and a market, and it's this gorgeous painting. And then if you look really closely in the bottom right hand corner, you see these little feet going into the ocean, and you see, even if you look even closer, some very faint feathers coming down, and it's supposed to be Icarus. And I love that as a metaphor for writing, because we create these novels and these stories, but they're just vessels, right, for the actual purpose, the actual point of the painting or the actual point of the story, which is usually a grander, thematic role. So anyway, that's a lot. I promise I won't talk this fast if you invite me to your book club, but we can do deep dives on these books and really talk some literature because as you can see, this fires me up, man. Like I love it. I love talking books. I love talking writing. It genuinely is like one of the only things that like we can be excited and celebrate these days while the world burns around us. But you know what? It is stuff like this. It is coming together that is going to see us through these dark times. And that's why, again, I thank you, Miss Susan, Adventures by the Book. Y'all are great. I'm so happy to be here. And y'all follow me on Instagram if you want. It's at James Wade Writer. We do a lot of fun, funny stuff on there, a little less serious than some of the books. But anyway, appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, James. Sounds wonderful. And thank you for sharing your story with us and for being so real. Lots of comments and a question for you in the chat box. So make sure to check that out. Love your presentation. Thanks for being so real and for fabulous review. You rock, James. So thanks for joining us. Jacqueline Westlake up next is an alumna of the Stanford Continuing Studies Novel Writing Program, a recruiter turned career advice columnist. Her latest novel, Lucky Break, follows main character Eliza, who, when a spate of bad luck upends her meticulously planned life, she moves to a charming and mysterious Midwestern lake town where she just might find herself while trying to find the truth. Welcome back, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, Susan. Hi, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Westlake. I'm really excited to talk to you about my new women's fiction novel, Lucky Break. It's a book that I think is perfect for fall book club discussions. As you can see, I've set my background to a lake. I'm currently in Wisconsin. I just finished a book signing in Oconomowoc last night. I'm a Californian, but my family is from Wisconsin. So I had so much fun writing this book set in the Midwest. So as we transition from summer's end into cozy autumn days, this is the ideal time to dive into a story that captures that exact moment. Lucky Break follows Eliza Coletti as she experiences the final days of summer in charming Juneberry Lake, complete with an end of summer festival on the very last day of the season. Have you ever fantasized about packing it all up and starting fresh somewhere new, trading traffic, burnout, and endless to-do lists for a small town with lake views, fireflies, and friendly neighbors who definitely aren't hiding anything? I'm supposed to wink here. That's the crossroads moment that I kept thinking about when I started writing this book, when everything you thought you wanted has crumbled, but there's this tiny voice whispering that maybe, just maybe, this could be your chance to build something better. That's exactly where Eliza finds herself when her carefully mapped out life implodes. She's a planner by nature. She has checklists for just about everything. But when her engagement falls apart, she realizes that sticking to a plan isn't going to save her. So, when a relocation incentive program, which was inspired by an article I wrote about real life programs like this around the country, offers Eliza $10,000 to move to picture perfect Juneberry Lake, Minnesota, she decides to dive headfirst into a fresh start. She buys a house sight unseen, packs up her San Francisco life, and moves halfway across the country. But as charming as Juneberry Lake turns out to be, Eliza quickly learns that though her new town may be small, it harbors big personalities, bigger secrets, and one inconveniently handsome fellow newcomer. What starts as curiosity about the previous owner of her house quickly spirals into a neighborhood-wide web of secrets, because apparently everyone in Juneberry Lake has been hiding something, and Eliza's arrival is about to bring it all to light. So here's why I think that your book club will love Lucky Break. This is a story about fresh starts, found families, and what it really means to feel at home in a town, in a new chapter, and in your own skin. It's packed with discussion-worthy moments like, would you uproot your life for a fresh start somewhere you've never been? What would you do if you discovered your neighbors were hiding a very big secret? And what does home really mean? Is it where you're from, or is it where you feel you belong? I've already heard from book clubs who've reached out to say that Eliza's story led to members sharing their own crossroads moments, leading to lively, meaningful discussions, which I love. If your book club selects Lucky Break, I'll send you a book club kit that includes discussion questions, a behind-the-scenes author Q&A, Lucky Break themed games, which are very fun. I've played them myself. A full color map of Juneberry Lake that looks like this. It's very cute. And recipe cards with dishes from the book, including fall favorites like loon juice, which is a delicious warm apple cinnamon cider, and a classic Minnesotan hot dish, which could be a fun addition to your book club meeting. I can also send along some bookmarks and signed book plates too. Lucky Break have heart, humor, and a dash of romance, small town mystery, and one very opinionated three-legged dog with an affinity for CSI Miami. It's the perfect transitional read as summer fades into fall. It'll give your club plenty to discuss long after you turn the last page. Lucky Break is out now, and I hope you'll visit Juneberry Lake, where you might just find your own lucky break between the pages. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And it's a lucky break for us that you came and shared that wonderful story and all this juicy swag that people get with it, with scheduling a book club visit. So thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Two more authors left, so don't go anywhere. We're going to have our drawing after that, and you don't want to miss our last two speakers. Sharon Wishnow is a transplanted New Englander who makes her home in Northern Virginia. In addition to writing upmarket fiction with environmental themes, Sharon writes nonfiction in the science, technology, and business categories with a passion for research, seashells, birds, and the ocean. Her debut novel is The Pelican Tide. After disaster strikes, a Louisiana family is their community need to prove to each other and the world that their bond is thicker than the oil threatening their shores. Welcome, Sharon.
Yeah.
Sharon?
Here we go. Better. Thank you all so much for having me. We made it almost to the end. Thank you for everybody who stuck around. I know it's a long night and there's a lot of stories being thrown at us, a lot of fantastic stories. I'm hoping to tell you about The Pelican Tide, hoping you can add it to your book club list for next year, or the end of this year rather. Try to be brief and set my timer actually before I forget, so I don't talk too long. Just give me a moment so I'm as efficient as we can. Terrific. The Pelican Tide is an intense disaster story that has a heartwarming family drama in the middle. So we've got a lot of different things going on. The story started for me in 2019. It was the 10th anniversary of the Deepwater Horizon oil rig explosion, which a lot of people live through and remember. And I had seen a documentary about it, and it was really interesting because I write a lot about the science. And I just started to think, what would it be like to live through an oil spill? Like, you don't just live through an oil spill. And so this, as happens to writers all the time, this just kind of nagged at me and I started looking into the Deepwater Horizon explosion. The interesting thing about the explosion, well, there's many interesting things, is it's all online. You can see not the actual explosion, but you can see the flames, you can see the boats, you can see the animals, you can see the oiled pelicans, you can see everything that's happening, and it's all documented. and I became riveted. And I started to look into, let's tell this story. And so I've created a world that's based on true fact. I've set my story in Grand Isle, Louisiana. If you like Southern books, this is a Southern book. Grand Isle is the only inhabited barrier island off the coast of Louisiana. It's known for fishing and shrimp and some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. It's about an hour and 20-ish minutes south of New Orleans, so it's actually a really quite beautiful drive. The story starts on the eve of the explosion. Of course, the characters don't know that at the time. And Chef Josie Babineau is trying to put her life back together. It's a dual point of view story told from Chef Josie. She's a Cajun chef. She runs the family's historic Cajun restaurant. And the other point of view is her husband, Brian, and he's a mechanic on the Deepwater Horizon. Their marriage is on the skids. It's been kind of rough and rocky for the past 6 months. They're childhood sweethearts, so this is an actual bittersweet breakup for them. Brian's got a bit of a gambling problem, and he has hit the end. And Josie has basically said, there's nothing left. And in order for me to save what's left of my restaurant and our children and our family, we need to break it up. So Josie takes the kids, she moves across the island. The island's only 8 miles long, so this is a really close-knit community. And she doesn't tell the kids exactly what has happened. Brian has a really big halo, and she wants him to own up to his problems and not tarnish it for her children. But things are going well for Josie at the start of the story. She is about to launch a hot sauce business, and she's about to be written up in one of the country's largest food review magazines. Think of like a Bon Appetit or a Gourmet magazine as the #1 island destination restaurant in the country. And she needs this. She needs the publicity. She needs to put her family back together. She needs the money. And then the Deepwater Horizon explodes. And it's about, just off the coast, you can, when you walk the beaches of Grand Isle, you can actually see the oil rigs in the background. And Grand Isle, as did happen, was ground zero for the oil. And as the oil within hours started to make its way from the well to the shore, everything in life in Grand Isle ended. Businesses ended, people stopped coming, the fishing industry was canceled. And all of a sudden, this community that was close-knit had to deal with something they had never dealt with before. Hurricanes, we got. Other oil spills in the past, but never anything like this. And this is a story of what happens to a family that's broken when they have to come together in a way that they've never come together before. The heart of the Pelican Tide is an actual pelican. His name is Gumbo. If you are a fan of animal stories, a lot of people tell me he's sort of a mix of Maurice the octopus and 630 the dog, though he's an actual real pelican. He's not. We don't hear his thoughts or see magical things about him, but he's based on an actual living pelican, and he brings the story together. And as our family goes through the oil spill, we learn what it means to fight for what we believe in. We learn what it means to become a family in a new way and what happens on the other side. So I'm running out of time, but I want to tell you that book clubs have loved this. Libraries have really appreciated my presentation. And like all of these wonderful authors, I also have great swag that I send out to book clubs, including little bottles of hot sauce. You can go onto my website, SharonWishnow.com, and you can find recipes that pair with what Chef Josie's cooking in the book, because there's a lot of food. And I want to thank everybody for sticking out to the end, and I hope to see you at your book club.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And yeah, book clubs that are planning ahead, think about Earth Month in April if you're planning ahead, even though you don't have to wait until April to schedule her for a visit. So thank you. And last and certainly not least ever is Karen White, the New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of, every time I introduce her and say 36 books, she tells me, oh, no, it's 38. So she has so many books, millions in print in languages around the world, multiple New York Times bestselling author, including the Trad Street and the Royal Street series, The Last Night in London, Dreams of Falling, The Night the Lights Went Out, and so many others. In her newest novel, That Last Carolina Summer, beautiful cover, by the way, is a contemporary standalone novel about sisterhood, secrets, and one woman's reckoning with the past. And there is nobody better writing about secrets than Karen White. Welcome back, Karen. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Susan. Thanks so much. It's good to be back in the fold again. Thank you for having me. This is always an amazing event. I've done this, I think, at least twice before. So I'm glad to be back. It's been a while. So I have my little cheat sheet because I needed to keep it under 4 minutes because I could literally talk to a wall for hours. So I'm going to be very, very, very succinct. So I typed it up. So please indulge me. Okay, to begin, That Last Carolina Summer is my first standalone book since 2019, when my life hit one of life's speed bumps and spun me around like a hurricane. While caring for both of my aging and ailing parents, both with dementia and Alzheimer's, I didn't have the bandwidth to write anything other than my series books because they are a lot lighter in tone than my standalone novels. My parents passed away within 9 months of each other, and my daughter got married right in the middle. I couldn't write, but I began filing away all the feelings for future use because I'm a writer at heart. I knew that when it was time to write a bigger book again, I would have to use the family dynamics, the emotions, the teachings, everything I learned about grace, forgiveness, and letting go while navigating my new life. But I didn't want to write a book about dementia. I wanted to write about a family in crisis and a woman who is put in the position of having to do the one hard thing she thinks she is not strong enough to do. And because this is a Karen White book, I used the lush setting of the South Carolina Lowcountry as another character and add a little romance, as well as two estranged sisters, a difficult mother-daughter dynamic, and a dark family secret that will change everything. So the quick blurb, what is this book about? As a child, Phoebe Manigault developed the gift of premonition after she was struck by lightning in the creek near her Charleston home. Plagued throughout her life by mysterious dreams and always living in the shadow of her beautiful sister Addie, Phoebe eventually moves to the West Coast, as far away from her family as possible. Now, years later, she is summoned back to South Carolina to help Addie care for their ailing mother. As Phoebe's return lures her back into deep-rooted tensions and conflicts, she is drawn to Celeste, whose granddaughter went missing years ago. Their connection brings comfort to Phoebe, while Celeste's adult grandson, Liam, resurrects complicated emotions tied to Phoebe's past. But the longer Phoebe spends in her childhood home, the more her recurring nightmares intensify, bringing her closer to the shocking truth that will irrevocably change everything. That Last Carolina Summer is a story about the unbreakable bonds of family and the gift of second chances. An unexpected inspiration for this novel, my newfound hobby of birdwatching. While going through those hard years, my husband, to cheer me up, bought me a camera bird feeder. Okay, I now have 15, but let's go on. Very shortly out, he set it up and loaded it with birdseed and downloaded the app onto my phone. Very shortly afterwards, I got a notification saying, "You've got a visitor." And when I looked, it was an adorable bluebird, literally doing this. Hey. I mean, I'd seen birds in the sky, but I'd never seen them up close and personal like that. And I was immediately addicted. And this app, it tells you a little bit more about it. And then my daughter told me about the Merlin app, and let's just say that's all she wrote. So I began researching birds. I found them fascinating. And the more I researched about birds, the more fascinating they became, especially when I learned how so much of their behavior mimics human behavior, especially behavior between mothers and their offspring and between siblings in the nest. And I made Phoebe a science teacher, and she has a blog called The Thing with Feathers. And in it, she writes about things that she's learned about birds and how it mimics human behavior. And that kind of inspires what happens in the chapter. And one of my favorite things is an observation she makes about how before migration, birds get a little antsy and a little crazy. and they start roosting face on their limbs or where in their nest or wherever, facing the direction in which they will be heading. And when it's time to go, they know immediately, they all go together and they know in which direction they are going. And then Phoebe makes the comment of all the things that she wishes she had been born with is the knowledge of always knowing where you're headed and knowing where to go. And then that sort of, then the chapter follows. I love meeting with virtual book clubs and have readers group discussion questions on my website at karen-white.com. And I would love to hear from you. And thank you, Adventures by the Book. And Susan, you are a iconic phenomena. Thank you.
Wow, I didn't even pay you to say that. Thank you. That melts my heart because I love working with you. I love working with our authors and I love working with our adventurers because you all make my job the reason I love coming to work every day. So thank you for that. And so many nice comments about you and your books, Karen, in the chat box. So make sure to check them all. And thanks for all the kind words about PitchFest. We are so glad you're all here. We're going to be giving our books away in just a few minutes. But I just wanted to thank everybody first before you leave. To our adventurers, we love you. You come out and support our authors and support us and support books and reading all the time, and we are so grateful to you. Don't think we ever forget that. If you saw authors that you love today or multiple books, make sure you fill out your cheat sheet and you can share that with your reading friends, your book clubs, your local libraries. I think I saw somebody in the chat box who said they're going to recommend a book to their local library because the book took place in their hometown. So I love that. So share it. These authors are really fabulous. They take the time to come out and they're really genuine. They love writing. They love talking to readers. So I hope you all do that. To our authors, thank you. For the old hands who have come back multiple times, we love having you every time. For those who are new, welcome. We're thrilled you're here and glad you have joined our Adventures by the Book community. Don't forget that we will have a recording. YouTube will send that out probably tomorrow. So in our thank you e-blast, you'll get a link to that so you can watch the recording if you missed any or all of it, or if you want to share it with anybody you know who's a book lover. And what else am I forgetting? I think that's it. You can still purchase books on our website. And last but not least, we're going to give away books, which is the fun part. And I hate to tell you this, but if you're not in the United States, I'm so sorry, we can't ship the books to you. I tried doing that once and it was like $50 to mail a book to Canada. You know, we just can't do that. I'm sorry. So if we call your name and you're in Canada or the United Kingdom or anywhere else, I'm sorry that we won't be able to honor that. And we hope we can do it another way sometime. I'm just scrolling through the chat box to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, ready for the giveaway. You do have to be present to win. So I'm going down the list. And if I could ask Brooklyn and or Sarah to write down the names of our winners, we will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mary Carr is our first winner. And if we don't have your name on the Zoom, because sometimes people use codes or initials, please put in the chat box what your email address is and your name so that we can contact you to get your prize. So Mary Carr, you're the first one. If you could put your email address in the chat box, please. Next, we have Becky Zagor. Congratulations, that's 2. Next up, we have Audrey Kalman. Next up, we have Loretta Ellsworth. That's 5. Next up, we have Deborah Borchert. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, Borchert. Next up, we have Sibylla Doros. I think that's 7. And then we have Suzanne Bernheim. That's 8. 2 more. We'll go with Leah Calapites. And last but not least is Felicia McDonald. So I believe that's our 10 winners. And let me look and see if I'm missing anything. I think that's it. So all our winners are picked. If you have your email address typed in there so we can contact you about shipping your book out, our authors will be shipping those directly to you. And thank you again, everybody. It's been a pleasure as always. And until next time, what is your next adventure by the book? Good night, everybody.